day before Thanksgiving. I was on a four-wheeler and I was very intoxicated on my part, and I got in a wreck. Next thing I know, I wake up in the hospital and I've had back surgery and I was paraplegic. I don't really recall anyone telling me that I was paralyzed. I think I just woke up and sort of knew.
I have a lung disease that has not been fully diagnosed as yet. When you go to rehab, now they're going to have you participate in 3 hours of physical therapy every day. I thought, I don't know, I can do 3 minutes of physical therapy. How am I going to do 3 hours?
My injury actually happened when I was 21 in 2001 of a brain aneurysm. I think during this time I didn't really understand what happened to me. When I woke up, I actually thought I was in a car accident. I didn't understand why my legs wouldn't move, why I was in the hospital, why my arms weren't functioning.
It was February 16, 2003, and I was actually a bodybuilder getting ready for a competition, and I saw my neighbor in my stairwell who lived below me. I lived in the third story of a 3-story building, and she was locked out of her place. Asked me to help her, so I thought I could climb from my deck down to her deck to open her door, and when I went over to my balcony, the railing was weak in my hands. I didn't quite know what to do. Before I knew it, it broke. My feet hit her railing, it flipped me upside down, and I landed on my head on the concrete and injured my spinal cord right there.
My first experience with Carolina Rehab was after I had a wreck. And of course I hurt myself to the degree I needed it. I go to rehab.
Most people don't think of rehab until they actually need it. When you've had some type of catastrophic injuries, these are brain injuries and spinal cord injuries or other types of multiple trauma. And they're people just like me and you. They're folks that were Sunday school teachers and soccer moms and soccer dads, and then all of a sudden something catastrophic's happened in their life. You know, if you think back to 1950 where there was a polio epidemic, that's where we began. We began as a children's hospital to serve children that were suffering from polio. And since that time, we've grown into the largest rehab network in North Carolina and South Carolina and probably even the region.
In fact, Carolina's Rehabilitation is among the most prominent and busiest rehabilitation organizations in the country. There are 5 inpatient rehabilitation hospitals serving the region, including the newest freestanding location, Carolina's Rehabilitation Mount Holly, serving the western region with expert stroke, orthopedic, and general rehabilitation treatment. In the Charlotte metro area, there are 13 outpatient facilities offering a wide range of treatments: occupational and physical therapy, sports medicine, balance programs, pelvic therapy, traumatic brain injury programs, and much more. And for our youngest patients, there are special facilities for pediatric rehabilitation. To better serve the northeastern metro region, plans are underway to build a new inpatient rehabilitation facility in Concord, Carolina's Rehabilitation Northeast. The science of rehabilitation treatment continues to evolve and improve through research. In the forefront of many of the latest advances is Carolina's Rehabilitation.
Well, we are well known both nationally and internationally with our research. From an international perspective, just for example, one of our researchers who's involved in our Parkinson research recently spoke in both China as well as in Israel. Research here at Carolina's Rehabilitation is very important to myself as well as our department. We are involved in many areas of research, including traumatic brain injury research.
After recovering at Carolina's Rehabilitation and achieving his goal of becoming a physician, Jesse Lieberman returned to follow his special research interest.
I'm interested in cardiovascular disease prevention and spinal cord injury, specifically focusing on nutrition. And so I have a research study looking at dietary patterns, how people with spinal cord injuries eat, and their cardiovascular disease risk factors. As part of that, it's a research career development grant I have from the NIH. I'm getting a master's of public health at UNC Charlotte as a part of that, and do a lot of other research career development activities in addition to my research study.
The physicians and staff of Carolina's Rehabilitation have been engaged in scientific research and clinical programs such as sports medicine, amputation, spinal cord injury, stroke, cancer rehabilitation, and Parkinson's disease. Carolina's Rehabilitation is the largest of 16 federally funded traumatic brain injury model systems nationwide. More than 30 active clinical trials are ongoing. One of only a few such centers in the world, the Human Performance Laboratory is under development at the main Charlotte facility. Carolina's Rehabilitation is using the newest wireless technology to help stroke and paralysis patients regain muscle control, a program offered by a select few facilities in the U.S. And we have the only Locomat robot-assisted treadmill between Richmond and Atlanta. This innovative system is restoring the ability to walk for patients suffering spinal cord and brain injuries, stroke, or neurological disorders. Our research and technological advances make us a standout in the rehabilitation field, but it's the human touch that gives us the reputation as the region's most trusted rehabilitation care provider.
It's really the people that make the difference, and because of their efforts, we've received national accolades and been listed in the U.S. News & World Report for the last 3 years. We're one of a very few rehab hospitals that have been accredited by CARF in over 17 different programs and services, which is pretty extraordinary if you look at the difficulty it is for CARF accreditation.
I think everybody wants to be where there's state-of-the-art clinical care as well as research. When you're training residents, you have the requirement basically to be state-of-the-art, to be providing the latest and greatest, and teaching the residents who are going to go out and practice to do what is currently considered standard of care as well as future standard of care.
Really, I kind of consider it a gift that that was kind of given to me through the injury, an ability to relate to anybody who's not functioning as well as they were prior to an illness or an injury. And that's really benefited me through medical school and internship and residency. I've just been able to relate to not just people with spinal cord injuries, but anybody that's really lost, like I said, function of something. And it makes my job not a job, it makes it fun, and I think the patients appreciate it too.
I'm amazed to watch what our therapists and what our nurses and what our physicians can do with patients, that have a new view on life after, the injuries or the disease process they sustain.
Well, the end goal for anybody with a rehabilitation problem, whether it's a sports injury or whether it's a severe disability, is to improve quality of life. And that is what our specialty is all about, is restoring quality of life.
I wasn't able to see. I had to wear glasses. I couldn't really talk. I couldn't walk. I was basically tied to a wheelchair. They helped me out a lot. They will try their hardest to get to a level that you're satisfied. They're not satisfied until you're satisfied.
They made me feel like that was my house, that was my home. I didn't feel like I was in a hospital. I mean, I can't put it into words how incredible that they were. They didn't treat me as a patient, they treated me like their friend, and they cared about what I had to do to live my life in a wheelchair.
I kind of enjoyed it, really. Had a fella named Ben, and he was strict, and he'd make you do everything, and made me get better. They do a good job here, good nurses with a good smile. And a good smile goes a long way when you're hurting.
There are many, many patients there who are in much worse condition than I am. I mean, it's obvious. Just look at them, you can see that. And they are all treated with the same dignity, with the same courtesy, with the same friendliness that I was. And I think if you spend 10 or 15 minutes in that rehab gymnasium, that it'll pretty much overcome any reservations you have as far as going to Carolina's Rehab. The care is excellent, no question about that. Hands down, excellent care. And I can say this now, having had the experience, I would have made a sincere mistake had I not gone to Carolina's Rehab.
Dedicated, talented physicians, therapists, and staff. Cutting-edge research. thousands of our citizens restored to useful lives. But the strides we've made in research and treatment are only made possible by the generosity of individuals and leaders like Duke Kimbrell. He was so grateful for the care he received, he established the W. Duke Kimbrell Research Endowment at Carolina's Healthcare Foundation. His gift supports important research studies and efforts, such as the new Research Pavilion, the Human Performance Laboratory, and an innovative technology program.
Well, research is a way to greater things. Any of us that can ought to be trying to help somebody else. And I think that's the most gratifying thing about it all. If you got a little something and can help, all of us ought to want to.
For over 60 years, Carolina's Rehabilitation has been the gold standard for excellent treatment and advances in research. Carolina's Rehabilitation will continue to serve rehabilitation patients and their families across the region for years to come. Carolina's Rehabilitation, restoring quality to life.